Recording. Fantastic. Okay, so welcome everybody from Cobb. Welcome everybody from Georgia. My name is Dan Smith. For those of you who were here last week, you know who I am. For those of you who were not here last week, you have no idea who I am. If you watched last week's recording, you get me. If you haven't yet, I try to be very entertaining. I sent you a fair, and with that being said, I'm going to find the manage participants and the mute all button so that we don't have to hear somebody eating. All right, so I am going to try to be very entertaining because I have set through some brutal Zoom sessions and just bored out of my gourd watching the person talk and trying to get his message across because he just wasn't engaging me. So if nothing else, I will engage you, all right? And so we are going to do some really fun stuff today. I always tend to go a little bit over, so if you have to bounce out right at your 11 o'clock or whatever, I get it. But I do like to go for about 45 minutes and then just open it up to Q&A after the fact. Along the way, if you have questions, I'm going to be unmuting every once in a while. So write your question down so you don't forget. And I have like a little hit list of things I want to accomplish today. And in between every one or two of those, I'm going to unmute so you guys can ask your questions. All right. Quick introduction. Some of you first time on here because you're not from Cobb, and Cobb's invited the rest of the state's associations to join. I am an author, speaker, a trainer. I used to sell real estate. I sold pretty well back in 2006. Wall Street Journal named me the #9 solo agent in the country with 321 closed transactions. This was pre-meltdown, pre-short sales, pre-REOs, just out there grinding. Sold my company, had a 5-year non-compete. When it came back, I didn't want to go back to real estate. I'd already kind of adapted a new lifestyle. And so now I coach and I speak and I train. Interestingly enough, I then married a broker. So I'm back in real estate, weirdly enough. I don't do day-to-day activities, but I do own a brokerage now. And so I do a lot of training with our team and with agents in our brokerage. I have 187 agents and feet on the ground. We're still in the trenches. So there you go, a little bit about me. Also, you won't be sold anything on this one. For those of you who weren't here on the last one, I don't have any books or tapes or series. I mean, I have books. They're just on Amazon, whatever, go buy them. But there's nothing that I'm going to be like, oh, here's the magic ticket. If you sign up with me, I'm going to really show you how to do this really good, because there is no thing. There's no possible way to sign up with me. I don't have that thing going on. So you don't have to like spend the entire time worrying about when's the pitch coming. There's no pitch. So this is, Cobb wanted me to provide content. I'm here to provide content. We leave. I don't even have your guys' email addresses. Like all this registration stuff, I won't get it. So you'll never hear from me again. Pitch free. Okay, so here we go. How to list homes when you can't go on listing appointments. Now we had a little bit of that out here. I think you guys in Georgia, for the most part, have been deemed essential. So you can still go on listing appointments so long as you do it safely and following some rules. You're all muted, but would you nod if I'm correct in that just general statement? As long as you follow some safety rules and not too many people and keeping social distancing, you can still go. But sometimes maybe your sellers have an autoimmune issue, they're older, maybe they don't want you to come out right now, or maybe you don't want to go out because you have somebody who lives in your household. My 85-year-old father lives with us now. So we're being very careful with what we bring back into the house. So maybe you don't want to go out to the house, or maybe something happens and all of a sudden, like in those spots in Northern California or New York, some other places who've done it, you're not allowed to go on a listing appointment and you have to do it virtually. So what we wanted to do today was kind of a nuts and bolts explanation of Zoom and how to use Zoom. And there's other platforms that do this, guys and gals. I just happen to know how to do it on Zoom. So I'm going to show you on Zoom. I don't have the experience in other platforms to be able to show you how to do it, but this one works really well. If you don't have a Zoom account, you should get one. They're free. And if you want to get the pro account, it's a whopping $15 a month, but you might not need it. Maybe you're just good with the free account. Free account gives you 40-minute meetings. $15 account gives you unlimited meetings. That's the difference. One other thing, I would forget to mention this at the beginning. I seem to freeze on every Zoom. I'm having a tech issue. I can't get to the Genius bar to fix my tech issue. I can't have a tech person who wants to come out to the house to fix it. So if I freeze, I'll freeze for 16 seconds, just so you know. Like it's a solid 16 seconds, and then I'll be back on. So if I freeze, don't feel like you lost me. Just know that I'm going to be counting. And when I get to 16, you'll probably hear me say that number, just so you know about it. Okay, so here's what we've noticed. Everyone is starting to get a little used to the world of virtual. This is probably not the first Zoom you've done. Maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago was the first Zoom you've done, but now you've done a couple of them. You sit on some webinars and you're getting a little bit better at this format. But what we found is like 90% of the time, somebody dialed in for their phone. And unmuted themselves. There we go. And now remuted. Perfect. We found that people are either attending classes like this or they're showing up to happy hours. And those are really the two ways that they're using this really cool technology, right? Showing up to happy hours to like by the way, Lee, good job. And Kelly, good job. As it turns out, everybody, you're allowed to drink things other than alcohol on Zoom sessions, right? It doesn't just have to be beer and wine. And Carolyn, good. And Angela, everyone's holding up their cup now, like, oh, look, well, yeah, who has scotch in their cup though? Come on. All right. So you don't have to just use it for like happy hours. You don't just have to show up to other people's. So as we started seeing that, we're like, we got to show people how they can use this technology. And even though next week, different associations, different schedules. Next week, we're going to be talking about how to host virtual events, how to truly ingrain yourself in the DNA of your world using virtual events. So understanding this tech today will go a long way in helping with that. So we've got to do other things and just show up to other people's activities and do other things than just show up to happy hours. The first thing we're going to do, and if you guys have unmuted yourself, please remute yourself. I'll unmute everybody. Boom. I just muted one person. I'll unmute everybody at one point, but if you unmute yourself, and there's always background, even if you think it's quiet in your car, it never is. We can hear your air conditioning. So just keep yourself muted if you would, and I'll unmute everybody when we get to a chance for questions here in about 4 or 5 minutes. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now, at the bottom of all your screens, nobody hit this button, and I don't think you can, I'm pretty sure I have it turned off. There's a share screen button, all right? So I'm gonna go to the share screen button right now so you can see what I'm looking at. And at the share screen button, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here to share screen. I'm gonna show you my desktop. And then I'm going to come on over here. Oh, you know what, I'm hosting it, so it's tough to do that. Yesterday I did one that the association was hosting. Well, let's just try it. Let's see if it lets me. Can you guys see my mouse moving around, by the way? Hopefully you can.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for unmuting for that. I was like, oh, now I got to go back to the screen real quick. Great. So I'm going to go to Zoom. All right. Perfect. I'm doing a meeting right now. I just lost my Zoom. I don't think it wants to let me in because I'm holding a Zoom. And I'm going to scoot this over. And I'm going to go to this tab right here that says settings, right? Here's what I know. Most of you who have free accounts haven't spent a lot of time in here. Those of you who don't have free accounts can't even get here. So again, go get your free account so you can get the settings. Settings allow you can go in and change your name, right? Check this out. I can rename myself. Call me Dan. I can come into settings itself, and inside of settings, I have so many awesome features. I'm going to scoot this over and scoot this over so you guys can all see them. All right. I have so many great options here that they're all like these little tabs that you can slide. So I'd encourage everybody to spend about a half an hour. Authenticated users can join, more than authenticated users can join. I'm going to show you a couple of really cool ones as we go through here real quick. Mute participants upon entry. I don't do that. So if you guys get here early, you can all talk, right? And you're not just like in silent room if you want to. Upcoming meeting reminders. If you register, you get an email telling you that you can go to that one. Private chats can be allowed or disallowed. Play sounds when people join or leave. Super annoying, by the way. So that one's turned off. Polling would be allowed. Show Zoom windows during screen share. I have off, so you don't see all my Zoom windows if I was doing a Q&A and such. Look at this one right there, whiteboard. All right, the whiteboard is awesome, and we're going to get into that later. So when I start using it, you're like, how do you turn that setting? It's in settings. You toggle it over so it's on. And we're going to use that in our presentation here in a little while. All right. So that'd be an interesting one to use. There's just, look at this, guys. So many different settings that you didn't know that it did all these things. And then inside of this, check this out. Inside of this, you can do it for all these settings. If you go into user management, room management, account management, and advanced, each one of them have like that many different things. It's crazy. And so I don't think most people are going into settings to see how that works. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Come back over to you all. So I would encourage everybody for one of these days, the next week or so, to put on your calendar, time block out 1 hour to go through all the setting tabs and really learn what they mean and dial things in. And here's a really cool one, everybody. Zoom has, and I'm not going to tell you where it's at, so you have to go hunt around for it. It'll make you do some work. Zoom has a touch-up feature. Most people don't know that. But you know, the camera never looks great with a lot of us, and lights are weird and who knows what. Zoom has a touch-up feature, and you literally toggle it over and it sort of airbrushes you, right? It's crazy. Yeah, it's a really cool tool. That's why I actually normally just look like completely horrible, and today I only look a little horrible because I'm just kidding. But it is a really cool tool to use the touch-up feature. So it is there. You just have to find it in the settings that if you want to use it. So I'm going to take it off real quick and see if anybody has questions about that. And Carolyn had typed one. How do you set up an encrypted meeting? Those numbers you have to type in. Hang on real quick. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and then I'll unmute everybody. Share screen. I'm going to come over here. I'm back into my main Zoom screen now. And right here, schedule meeting. Right, I'm going to click on that. It might not let me do it because I'm on a meeting. We'll see. Never actually tried to do it while I was on a meeting. No, it lets me. Cool. So I can name the meeting, my secret meeting, or listing presentation for Mr. Jones, or offer, or Dan and Stacy meeting, whatever. You can put the meeting description here if you want. You can set when you want to do it, right? I want to do it tomorrow, let's just say. You can, which reminds me, I set 2 meetings up doing this training yesterday and I didn't delete them. I need to go delete this. You can set how long you want the meeting for, an hour. Maybe you want it to be an hour and a half. It's just a guesstimate. It doesn't have to be completely right. It's not like the system needs to know. You're just telling the attendee how long they need to kind of calendar out for. Time zone, all right. Is registration required or not required? Is a password required or not required? You can make a personal ID. You can use a generate automatically personal ID, or use your same one every time. The reason I don't use my same one is because I have a lot of Zooms going. I have like 30 on my calendar right now. So if I were to do that, somebody could just use my personal ID meeting today and just randomly jump in when they shouldn't be here today. They should maybe be to a different one on Thursday. So I use different meeting IDs sent out generated. I don't use the same one for every meeting. You can control the host and the sound, and then here are some little settings that you can do off the cuff. So how do you make it so you have that encrypted? I think this is, when you said encrypted, I think this is what you mean. You use this meeting password and you send them a random meeting ID with a random password, and that's how you would lock, or how you would not let everybody in. I think that might answer your question. I'm going to take it off of screen share, take it off of mute. And you guys are all unmuted. So if you're in a loud spot, I had to unmute everybody at once. If you're in a loud spot, please re-mute yourself. And so it's the only way for me to do it.
I'm so sick of you saying pounded this, pound that. Just stop. I don't have time for you right now. I don't have time for you right now.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute her. I thought she was talking to me at first. What do I keep saying? All right. Questions about what I just showed everybody? Questions about what I just showed everybody? No questions? All right. We all got that so far. Sweet. It's pretty easy, right? But I'm telling you, there's so many settings you don't know.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
All right, so the system will generate that automatic meeting ID, but then you set up the personal password. Is that correct?
I don't. I just let them generate it too. And he said there's some weird number in there. I was like, I don't know what it was just then, but it was like 9265ZHQ. But I can generate my own password if I want. I just tend to use whatever they gave me.
Okay, so but there's two steps to it. There's that meeting ID, and that the system will automatically generate that number. But then the second step is the password.
Correct.
And that's what you can use yourself, right?
Well, that would be for everybody. So if I were to send this invitation out, you have my screen up, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So it generates its own meeting ID, and I can require meeting password. And this is the one that it generated for me. But I could just go ahead and change this to say hi, or my zip code 92691, or whatever I want. So you can't. It's up to you. You can use your own, or you can let it self-generate.
Okay.
I have taken, if you guys have noticed, I've taken the password feature off of your guys's. Like I didn't need you guys to have a password to log in. I don't feel like the conversation we're having is so confidential that I needed to have a password. So it was the whole state of Georgia, right? So I didn't want anybody like getting messed up and not being able to get in because of the password. But maybe if I was working with a seller and we were doing a listing presentation, I just wanted to make sure. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? Okay, sweet. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to remute everybody. So let me see. We've done the setting and the invite process. So now we're going to get in the listing presentation part of it. I'm not going to really mute all. Yes. I'm not going to really give you guys like, here's a listing presentation and go through the boring listing presentation with you. That's like its own training, right? How to do a listing presentation and what to have in it. We're not going to do that. I just want to show you how to share yours. All right, I did this yesterday and people kept going back and asking me like, well, so wait a minute, on that page, how do I present that? Like, whoa, 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 whoa. This isn't that. This is how to share the materials in general, not for how to do a listing presentation, just so everybody knows. Okay, so, we get to the house virtually, meaning I jump on and Carolyn, you jump on. I'm going to use you as my guinea pig in this, just so I have a name to keep referring to. And so, Carolyn and I are both on Zoom because she had called me up 3 days ago and said, hey, I know that's crazy with the coronavirus thing going on, but I still want to sell my house. Is there a way we can do that? I just don't want anybody coming over right now, but I'd love to sit down and talk about how we can sell it. Is there a way that you can do that virtually? And Carolyn's like, oh yes, of course there is. Or I say, of course, Carolyn, there is. And so I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you an email invitation to join. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, great. You guys are back. Muting. Hold on. Okay, there was my freeze. I told you, it always happens. So I say, sure, we can do that. I'm going to send you a link and go ahead and do this. Just so you guys know, in settings, you can also move a tab over, which makes it so they don't have to download the app. They don't have to go do that. There is a setting that allows them to just join by clicking on the link and not having to download the app for you people who might be a little leery about downparting a third-party app. So there is even that feature. So I say, I'm going to invite you. Let's be there on Thursday at noon. Does that work for you? Carolyn says yes. So I say, fantastic. The reason I picked Thursday at noon because it's Tuesday right now, so it gives me a day to put some stuff in the mail to her or do a drop-off at her doorstep to her before we do the actual Zoom presentation. So what I'm going to drop off to her is a copy of the listing contract, if in fact that's something that you take on listing appointments, which I sort of hope it is. And I'm going to drop off to her a copy of my actual listing presentation, hard copy, and anything else that I'm going to be going over with her. Maybe if I do net sheets, I'm going to drop off a copy of the net sheet. I'm not a big fan of net sheets, but that's a whole side topic. Whatever you will be presenting, you are going to be dropping or mailing to her, so she will have it in her hands on Thursday. Okay, now you're still going to present it digitally, but what we know is it's nice to be able to present it digitally, but for them to have a copy with them as well to be going over. So you want to give yourself enough time to get that stuff out there. Okay, so I get the materials to her on Wednesday. We meet at Thursday at noon. We both jump on and I say, Carolyn, great, you figured out how to use Zoom. Welcome to the world of virtual. And we laugh and we joke and we be a little social for a couple of minutes. And I'm probably asking her if she's done any others of these and how she's doing during all this and yada, 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 just making some small talk. So, and then I ask her, is she on her laptop or her tablet or her phone? Most of the time, what I find is they're going to be on their tablets or their phones. I mean, the tablets or their laptops/desktops, not their phones when they're doing this. So I ask them if they have the ability to use their phone to go ahead and click the link again and join twice. And here's why I want them to do that. Because I want them to be able to have their phone. And then when they jump on for a second time, I can mute one of them. If I don't mute one of them, I hear them twice and there's this huge echo and it's confusing to listen to. And I say, great, now what I'd like you to do is walk me through your house. And so she can walk me through her house really easily on her phone, not so easily, somewhat easily on her tablet. It's kind of rough with a laptop and it's practically impossible with a desktop. Right? That's a lot of extension cords and it's really heavy. So she's walking me through with her phone, showing me the house room by room, opening things up. I'm saying, hey, can you put it back over there? Let me see that angle again. So she spends about 10 minutes walking me through the house, which is kind of important, right? If we go on a real listing appointment in real life, we like to see the property, don't we? Right? So we're going to do it this way right now. And Kathleen, I love it. Thumbs up. Every once in a while, I'm just like, are they hearing me? So when I get some reaction like that, I do appreciate that. So we want to see that home in real life and they appreciate it. They're like, oh, this is cool. They're taking the time to see my house. All right. Then we ask if they can go sit back down at their device, their other device when this is all done. You guys get that? So we're going to start with a virtual. Oh, come on. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000, 8, 1,000, 9, 1,000, 10, 1,000, 11, 1,000, 12, 1,000, 13, 1,000, 14, 1,000, 16. Perfect. Mute all. Twice. It's never happened twice. That's a little scary. Okay. So now we've seen the house. They like it. And now we ask them to sit down at their device so we can go over stuff. You guys with me on this so far? We have to see the house, I believe, in order to really be able to do a listing presentation and talk about prices. Okay, so I'm going to start doing some screen sharing now. And you'd be doing the same thing with your client. You'd say, all right, Carolyn, so I'm going to become a little head on your screen now instead of a big head because I'm going to share my screen because there's some stuff I want to show you. All right, so don't worry, you didn't touch any buttons, but you're going to see the screen change here in a second. You just follow along with me as we go through it. So I go to share screen. I go to my desktop. I can shrink that down. I can open up my listing presentation because, and I want to show everybody something. I have conveniently put everything else to one side of the screen and left the materials that I want Carolyn to see to the other side of the screen so they're easy to find. You also want to make sure that anything that's on your screen, you don't mind your clients seeing the names of at least because they might get glimpses of your screen. Hey, look, here's my Bank of America PPP application. Right? So you have things here that you don't mind them seeing. You hide everything else, but I've separated things that I want to go over with you so they're easy to find. All right, so I open up the listing presentation and then I make the screen big so you guys can see it. Now this is my wife, everybody. Say hello to my wife. This is her listing presentation, so it's very easy for me to convince her to let me use these on these training tools. So now some of you might be saying, well, wait a minute, I don't have a listing presentation that's digital, Dan. Well, that gets a little tough to present digitally if you don't have one digitally. So there's a couple things you can do. One, you can take your written one and scan it and use it just like that. You can open up your scan copy from your desktop. Two, if you have a printed one, but you've never got around to like that's actually designed, you can hire a graphic artist in your community, keep people employed in your community, and they'll convert that document from being able to just print it to an actual PDF very inexpensively, like under $50 probably. So now making one, if you don't have one at all, that could be a little bit more costly. But taking something that you have and just digitizing it, very inexpensive, very quick, and it keeps your economy and your local community working. All right. You can send it off to Fiverr, something like that, and maybe get it done for $20 instead of $40. But at this time in our world, I suggest we try to support our own economies and not Indonesia's. And keep everybody in our own economy working, just my 2 cents. So you have your listing presentation up, and I say, all right, Carolyn, you can see it, right? Now the book you have in front of you, Carolyn, because you have an invisible book that I gave you in the mail or dropped off at your doorstep yesterday. I say, you can follow along with me, Carolyn, in the book and on the screen together if you want. So that way, if it's hard for you to see the screen or you're more of a visual touching person like that, you have both options. But this way I can stay with you rather than just trying to hold something up, Carolyn. Because if I was trying to hold the book up right now and get it right in front of the camera, it'd be really difficult. So I've sent you this so we can go through it together. Are you ready? And of course, Carolyn nods her head and says, yeah, I'm ready. And so this is the cover. You can see the cover, Carolyn. So go ahead and just open the first page. Now, everybody, I use 2 fingers on my Apple to swipe, but I can also just hit the arrow button, right? I can hit the down arrow button. I can hit the left arrow button. Like, they all do things. So it's really easy to navigate the pages if you have it set up this way. This is a particular community that my wife works in. So it would be about her on the inside cover. I'm sorry, it'd be about Nell Gale on the left-hand cover, and it'd be about her on the right-hand cover. So I'd say, if it was me doing a listing presentation and I'm now Melody, I'd say, okay, well, there's a little bit of information about me. You can read that at your leisure. And then I'd say, turn the page one more time. Let's get into the marketing. On the left-hand side, you see what's on your screen, Masterful Marketing. And on the right-hand page, you see my spread about online exposure. All right, so let me talk about that. And I would do just like I would do if I was doing a listing presentation. I'd talk about the online exposure that Melody, that I offer to you, that I use, right? And so I'd say, okay, let's go to the next page, next 2 pages now, right? The next 2 pages you're going to see are 2 pages on behavioral marketing. You have those in front of you, right, Carolyn? So let me tell you about behavioral marketing. So I'm going through my listing presentation as I would, and they're able to go through it in hard copy and follow along. So if I want to talk about a specific sentence, right? Let's just use this one as an example. When a buyer returns to a specific site, do you see that sentence, Carolyn? Let me tell you what that means. Like, I can actually go through things with her now because it's very easy to stay engaged. And I would go through this page by page, talking about all the things me as an agent are going to do to sell her home. And she's going to have questions along the way. She won't be muted. So she'll actually be able to ask me questions. And I'm going to talk about how we give feedback and the level of service that we offer, including staging, what having a team means. I'm going to go over things that we've done, the results. I'm going to talk about some reviews potentially. Going to talk about market share, success rate, right? I'm going to show bragging rights and philanthropy and the back cover. So that would have all maybe taken, who knows, 20, 30 minutes to go through. But you've actually been able to go through your listing presentation marketing portion with them digitally now. You guys get that? So I'm going to say, okay, Carolyn, what kind of questions do you have about what we went through? As we've been going through, she's probably been asking questions. And then she might have some more questions that I'm going to dial in and answer for her, because it's going to be very engaging. I'm going to say, go back to that page real quick, and I can share my screen again and flip back to that page if they have a question about it. So it'll be very interactive going through the book in 4D, being able to touch it, actually having it for her, and then together, 2-dimensional, visually, okay? I'm going to unmute everybody. If you're in a loud spot, remute, please. Here's your warning, unmuting. All right, questions about what I just did. Muting. If I just remuted you or trying to ask a question, unmute yourself again. I'm just muting one that I hear noise coming out of. questions about what I just did? Pretty easy, right? Share the screen, open the file, go through the file. That's not rocket science, right? Even some of you who are a little tech challenged, and this is why I use Zoom. There's a dozen other places that do it. I just find this one to be super simple for stupid people like me to be able to seem really good at, because I don't have to like be a tech wizard. I don't want to be a tech wizard. I just want to I want to click some buttons and make it work. All right, and that's what this allows me to do. All right, questions. Gloria, I hear you. Got a question? Does the upgrade and free, no. I'm gonna mute Gloria because we got feedback coming through. All right, so let me see. Let me look at the chat. Some of you have asked questions. This is the 16-second freeze. No, it has nothing to do with the upgrade or the free version. It has to do with my operating system. My MacBook is about 4 years old. It needs to upgrade to Catalina, which is their new OS. Problem is, I don't know how to do that. And I do everything at the Genius Bar. In case I didn't mention, I'm not a big tech guy. And I can't go to my friends at the Apple store in the Genius Bar right now to get it fixed. And I haven't been able to figure out how to do it from home because I'm just not techie. So as soon as I get my operating system fixed, my freeze issue will stop. Until then, I just have to warn everybody it's going to happen once or apparently twice now in a session. So it has nothing to do with the upgraded version. Okay, thank you for the, thank you. Yeah, it's a pretty good presentation, right, Carolyn? So that's my wife's presentation that we just went through there. Okay, so questions about that. What to share, how to share. I got some other things I want to show you, but real quick before I mute everybody, questions about what we just went through. All right, awesome. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen now. Well, I would have taken it off of screen share with Carolyn, and me and Carolyn would have talked, and I would have asked questions. And then I would probably at that point, Carolyn's going to ask, what do you think my home is worth? Would you guys agree? It's a valid question that's probably going to come up now next. She's going to ask one or two things. What are you going to sell it for, or how much are you going to charge me to sell it? I mean, those are the two questions that she's going to ask me after what we just went over, correct? So let's handle the what am I going to sell it for first. So I don't have access to your MLS, but I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. But if I did have access, oh, and I didn't mute everybody, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to click mute all. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen now. And I'm going to come over here and say, okay, I want to go over something with you, Carolyn. And it could either be a live CMA on the fly, or you would have already downloaded one. Now, you've already seen how to do a downloaded document, right? So you guys don't need to see me open up another one of those, but I could come over here to www. I'm not an agent. I don't have MLS access, but I could type in whatever you guys use to get to your MLS, and then I could open up and type in my password. Maybe I would want all that already open before I reached out to Carolyn. I entered it and opened it, so I didn't have to type my password in and everything right before I met with her. And I can go in and show her comps, show her a cloud CMA, show her whatever it is that you guys and gals use. And each one of you, you don't all use the same thing. You all use different tools. But I can go in here and go over the CMA presentation part of it now with her using live right on the MLS itself, one that I make live with her. I'm not a big fan of that. You never know what it's going to say. There's always these weird ones. I'd prepare it beforehand and probably have it as a download. But you could do it live if she wanted to. And then from there, you could have other supporting documents like I talked about over here with, I didn't make a net sheet. I just typed net sheet for you all. But you could have a net sheet over here if you wanted to go over that with her. You could have some other supporting documents if you wanted to show them other things that you're going to be showing them, maybe copies of their tax bill or that sort of thing. So you can have a whole list of things just running down this screen that you have to open and share with Carolyn until you're ready to get to the point of the presentation where you normally want to start looking at the contract. Okay. Now, again, you've probably given Carolyn all of this. Hopefully you've made a cloud CMA and you've already given her a copy when you dropped everything off at the door so she can go over it with you. It's not live. You've already made it and it is on your screen. But if you need to go live, you can. You've already given her a copy of a net sheet. You've already given her a copy of your supporting documents. So she's going through them with you as you go through, and you're just going through your list, sharing different things. All right, I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Okay, everybody with me on that so far? I saw some flashing going on my screen, so I wanted to get over to the, this a private message. Oh, thank you. I got an offer to help me with my freezing. And what alternative CMA presentations are people using instead of cloud CMA? That's a great question. I'm actually gonna, we have a bunch of people here, right? That can share what they're using. What I'm finding people are using is cloud CMA or their own version of, they just make a CMA, pull out the comps themselves, choose a map. So it's not the cloud version itself, but it's just they created their own CMA to then send to a client with different pieces in it. Is anybody else using a different system? So we can, that's a great question. I'm gonna unmute it. I'm gonna write down this phone number that somebody gave me to help me with my thing later on, with my freezing before it goes away. All right, what else are you guys and gals using? Besides, anybody using besides cloud?
We have NARS RPR.
Oh, RPR. Yep, RPR is a really cool tool. Okay. Anybody else? I think, I don't know statistically, but I'm going to say like 80% of the real estate population uses cloud, right? I think it's very common. And so I think that's what most people are using. RPR is a phenomenal tool. And then doing your own. My wife, for instance, doesn't use cloud. She just does her own. So she will pull bits and pieces out and create a report on her own too. So those are a couple of different ways of doing it. All right, let me go back to mute real quick. Mute. You guys are really quiet that time, by the way, when you're unmuted. Thumbs up. All right, so we have gone through the presentation portion of it. We have gone through the marketing part of it, the CMA part of it. At this point, maybe I want to, I'm gonna share my screen again, and I'm gonna click on whiteboard. And I don't think you guys can see this part. It's asking what I wanna share, but I'm giving some choices here. Desktop, whiteboard, different things. I'm gonna click on whiteboard, and now you can see the whiteboard, I know. I'm not sure if you could see it before. And this is something that if you have one of those cool new Microsoft things, or even like a Google Chromebook where you can touch your actual monitor and take a stylus and write on it, awesome feature, right? This thing is amazing if you can do that. Now, if you can't actually do it and you have to write, it's a little rough. Like I'm gonna use my mouse right now to write, but you've all seen what that looks like, right? Like it's a little tough. Now, if I could just use a stylus, I'd be money right now. But that, not so much. So if I have to actually write stuff, I'm probably gonna come over here to the text bar instead of the draw bar, right? And I'm gonna be able to type things. All right, so let's get into your questions real quick, Carolyn, so you don't forget. One, did you have any questions about this? And you're like, yeah, so tell me about this. Okay, great. What other questions do you have? Two, okay, you wanna know about that. Fantastic. All right, three. Or maybe you're trying to make some, maybe you're trying to point out, all right, so we've gone through everything now. Carolyn, I want to point out to you, I'm gonna clear all my drawings. I wanna point out to you, just highlight what we have talked about, all right? Number one, right, market time. We did cover that we should, you know, the market's slowing, what's going on with coronavirus, yada, 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 yada. Maybe talk about 90 days on market. And then number two, right, who knows what you're gonna type here? You can type anything you want here, right? What I'm trying to get across is it's a really cool feature. Even if they're asking questions while you're on a screen share and you don't want to handle them at the time, you can say, let me put that on whiteboard real quick. So they see you sharing that so you can come back to them all at the end. Ultimately, it does a couple of cool things. It helps you remember things. It lets them be participatory in getting the questions asked or putting stuff on there. And I think it makes you look like a tech wizard. Stop the sharing. So you're doing a dry erase whiteboard as you go through. Where is that coming from? There you go. You're using a dry erase board as you go through. And again, next computer I buy, I'm going to be able to write on the monitor, so that I can start using, because this is a new tech that's going to be around for a long time, everybody. So using a whiteboard is really cool. And then, so you're ready to get into the contract portion. What do? I bet you all know. You click share screen, and you come on over here to a contract. Now this happens to be a California RPA that someone had sent me, not an RLA. So an RPA is a residential purchase contract, where an RLA is a residential listing agreement. So this is actually a purchase contract, not a listing agreement, but you guys get the theme of sharing here, right? And I can move my mouse, click my buttons to go through it. They already have their copy, hard copy. Be interesting to see what your guys' in Georgia looks like. This one's really crazy. And I can go through and share screen by screen. And if for some reason this is on the other side and now I get to this page, I just move our little heads over or across the top, or a lot of different things I can do with them, right? To get them out of the way. I just continue to move them as I need to. There'll only be 2 heads there, not like 4, so it's a little easier to move. So I can go through the listing agreement. I see somebody chatting up there, so I'll be right there. I can go through the listing agreement, 1 page at a time. This would be the RPA though, right? And answer their questions, fill in the blanks if they're not already filled in. I could even be on zip forms or if I wanted to. I don't know what you guys there use, but if there's I'm sure you have a digital way of writing your contracts. We can even be writing the contract live together if I chose to share that screen. And then they have a hard copy. Depending on their technical savvy abilities now, I could ask them to sign said hard copy and then mail it or scan it back to me. Or I can let them know that I'm going to DocuSign or ZipLogix them the contract that we just went over right now. And all they need to do is click on it virtually still and send it back to me. So I have a lot of options, but I could even share the DocuSign as I'm making it and sending it to them. So there's some pretty sweet features that we have here. If you want to get super technical, you can allow them, if they're confused about the page, you can say, hey, click that share screen button for me. And you can have them share the screen, and then you can walk them through their own too. So sharing the listing agreement hard copy that they have on them, right, with them being able to see yours and possibly even you being able to see theirs is a really cool virtual feature that we could use. I'm going to go off of my sharing. I'm going to come back over here to questions, and I'm going to unmute everybody. And if you guys are in a spot that you are loud, or if you're on a device and you have your phone turned on, I know some people do that, mute one of them so we don't hear the feedback. And Bruce had asked that. RPR looks good. Do you electronically send the contracts to them prior to? It depends. It depends, Carolyn. I like to, my personal preference is to review them first, right? So I might send them I don't send them to sign electronically. If I'm going to take the contract, I'm going to give it to them hard copy again with all the other materials would be my take. So they have it to touch. I don't need to send them another thing digitally for them to be looking at while they're trying to digitally look at what I'm sharing on the screen. I want them to have their own set of papers and my screen for digital. And I think I might have covered that as you were already typing that. And then I can send them the actual agreement, DocuSign, or however I choose to digitally send it for signatures after the fact. Got some noise. Where is it coming from? Usually the screen identifies noise pretty good. Got it for me. All right. So, what other questions? Have you stopped sharing your screen before in settings, you can allow more than one person to share a screen. Good question. Janaea. Sorry if I butchered that. My name's Dan. I'm not really good at longer names. All right. So, yes, you can put it in settings that only I can share a screen, that nobody else is allowed to share a screen, or that one screen at a time can be shared, or you can even set it up that multiple screens can be shared. So that's all in the settings depending on how you want to run it. For me running these, as you would imagine, I've turned off screen share so you guys all can't pirate in and take over my screen. So kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish. That setting could change each and every different time that you're doing something. And are the contracts, are they a PDF? You can open when I'm sending the contracts, I'm just printing them and giving to them. When I'm sending them virtually, I'm using a DocuSign, right? So anybody here uses DocuSign? So I think DocuSign sends them over in this DocuSign format actually, which is sort of like a PDF, but you could open JPEGs, PDFs, Word docs, anything you want when you're doing a screen share. A lot of people here, according to Bruce, PDF. All right, any other questions so far that I haven't handled? I want to look at the time real quick. It's 7:50. Where am I at on my hit list? I am right there on my hit list. I can mark that off. Perfect. Any other questions? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. No other questions right now? Okay, fantastic. So, want you to pay attention to everything we've just done. Who here has ever had somebody from another state would love a copy of my wife's listing present? Yeah, I get that a lot. That's probably not out for dissemination. Maybe to you guys, since you're in Georgia. It definitely doesn't get disseminated in California, but maybe in Georgia, so I'll have to ask about that. So check this out. Anybody ever had a client from another state that you've talked to? They live in Texas or California or New York or Minnesota or Illinois now, and they want to sell their house. And they contact you and say, I have this second home, this rental property in Georgia, or I just moved out of Georgia to Florida and I still got my house in Georgia, I need to sell it. Some theory of a seller who doesn't live in your area wants to sell a home that's in your area. Has that ever happened? I'm trying to get a listing from a client in Montana. Perfect example. It's kind of difficult to get them to come out from Montana to Georgia, isn't it? It's
Right.
difficult in normal circumstances. Forget COVID-19 circumstances, right? It's difficult in normal circumstances. And it's like, well, I'll be out there in a couple of months, so then we can sit down and do everything. This is a technology that we can use now or in October when this thing is all said and done and gone, and we're just back to normal real estate, and we still have somebody from another area who wants to do a listing presentation with us. This is mute. There we go. This is an opportunity for us to use this technology with them. You can invite them to a Zoom. You can go through your listing presentation, through your listing contract. You won't be dropping this stuff off at their door, so you have to do a listing presentation maybe 72 to 96 hours ahead of time to give time for the USPS to drop the actual package to them so they can go through it with you, right? But this is a technology that you can use with listing appointments. Then, now who's ever had a listing? Who's ever had a listing that went on vacation, and then of course, when they go on vacation, or you've been on vacation and one of your listings gets an offer? That ever happened? That's the best way to get an offer, right? Go on vacation. Can't get something to sell, go on a trip. It'll become totally inconvenient and difficult, and that's why it will then sell. So yeah, that totally exists. It happens all the time. So what if you could now, instead of, and how do we normally do it? We normally say, hey, I'm going to email you a copy of the offer, and then we're going to set up a time to talk, and I'm going to try to walk you through the offer. Very common. That's how we've had to do it prior, most of the time. Agreed? Well, now we have this new way of doing it. If you think about it, that's so much better. If I am in Peru, or if they are in Peru, and one of us is getting ready to climb Machu Picchu tomorrow, but we can work out time zones and we can have an opportunity to talk on Wi-Fi today. Peru, they're going to need Wi-Fi, right? I can not get them everything hard copy now. We're not going to mail our package to Peru, right? And if I'm in Peru, I'm not mailing it from. So it's going to be pure digital. But we can arrange that we both meet, all right? We both meet at 12 o'clock tomorrow, my time, 2 o'clock tomorrow, your time. And we get on Zoom and we do everything I just did. Now, you don't do the listing presentation stuff, but you can show them the contract, go through the contract line by line with them, talk about your counterpoints. You can open up your state's contract forms. You can type your counter in front of them right then and there. And then you can let them know that you're docu-signing or sending it to them digitally right then and there for them to send back. But the presentation of the contract, of the offer, is so much more powerful now than it was by just trying to explain it to them over the phone. You guys get that? It's a really cool tool that we're going to be able to use in the future. Oh, come on. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and everybody's back. Nice. You should have heard me just scream. Oh, come on, 3 times. All right. It's a really cool tool that we're going to be able to use in the future for doing things like this. Now, who's ever taken a buyer out on a Saturday afternoon at noon, and then the buyer waits all day long until you're finally like in for the night on Saturday evening, and then buyer decides to say, hey, I think I want to go ahead and write an offer on that property. At the most inconvenient of Saturday night times, that's when they finally reach out to you and just make the decision that they want to write that offer. And then what do? We write the offer, then we send it to them a lot of the times because we're not going to go back over there on a Saturday night. And then we try to walk them through the offer, right? And how to sign it and all that jazz on the phone again. Man, we could upload to them right now. We could upload to them the actual offer. We could put it on our screen and go over it with them. And we can write it with them. And then we can, again, docu-sign it to them. So even with buyers, this is a tool that coming out of this thing, moving forward in the future, I think is going to be a fantastic tool that we can utilize and use that's going to make all of our lives a little bit better. And it's going to make so much more sense for the consumer, guys and gals. They're looking at these contracts and they're confused and they don't know what they say, right? And we're trying to explain it to them on the phone, but it's a pain in the ass and I get it. We're going to be able to really give them a comfort level now that we've never been able to give them before, I believe, by doing this. All right, I'm going to unmute everybody.
You are unmuted.
I am unmuted. Diana, I remuted you though. Crazy feedback going on there. All right, so everybody's unmuted unless you've remuted yourselves. We're coming up at the top of the hour. What kind of questions do you have of things that we haven't covered yet? Or that you want to go back to that maybe I was a little confusing on? Here's your chance to ask away.
Is there going to be a video replay posted?
Yes, so this is being recorded. And as soon as we get off, it will be sent to Barry from Cobb. And then Cobb will then disseminate it to his board members because he kind of like runs Cobb. And then I think he will disseminate it to the heads of, if you guys are from other boards, he doesn't have all your info, obviously, but he will then send it to all their CEOs or presidents or whatever you call them in your neck of the woods. And then they will get it to their memberships that way. Yeah, so it is recording and it will be sent out. Again, I don't have your guys' information. You're not going to hear from me again. I'm not going to be like tickle filing you about all these cool programs I have because I don't. So I'm like a one-stop in and out content. Here you go, boom, gone. So I'll send it to them and they'll reach out to you with it. All right, let me see if I had any other questions. Oh, you guys went crazy on chat. Okay, Montana, absolutely. I've not met people in person, referred me. Have you ever used WhatsApp for foreign clients? Yes, WhatsApp is the mode of communication for foreign clients. So much easier than text, and that's their version of Facebook Messenger, right? WhatsApp is a fantastic tool. Good info, send it out. Okay, so, all right, no questions on chat. Any other questions live, everybody?
Thank you so much.
You are
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I know it's probably busy, 11 o'clock for you guys, so I'm sure there's a lot of other Zoom webinars and trainings starting out there. Here, everyone's still asleep except for me. Yeah, and Jeff down there at the bottom ninja'd in here just from my office, so he decided to pop in. All right, so any other questions, guys and gals? This is your chance. What is that saying? Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, well, share with your family, friends. Now, family doesn't make any sense. Don't even know why I said that. Share with your real estate friends, your coworkers, colleagues. We're going to be doing another one of these next week, same time, same place. It's going to be on how to host virtual events. And by that, I mean like more than the damn happy hours. All right, how to actually host virtual events to get you some traction among people other than just putting down some beers. We got enough of those already. We need to figure out how to host other ones. We're doing a really good job of it now. We've gotten kind of solid at it over the last 4 weeks. And so I want to share those ideas with you so you can implement those as well. Thank you everyone for being on. If you need me, reach out to me. I'm pretty good at answering individual questions. Might take me a little bit of time. You know, like I can't get back to you same hour type thing if I'm busy doing Zooms, for instance. My email is dan@bydansmith, Dan@bydansmith, B-Y, like the author, D-A-N-S-M-I-T-H, dan@bydansmith.com. And by Dan Smith on all social media platforms. You can reach out to me there and just talk to me direct, either DMs or comment on posts or whatever as well. So if you need me, I'm here for you. Thanks for attending. Keep your heads up, everybody. It looks like we might be close to turning a corner on this thing, which is good news. Even if we do, we're learning some awesome tech that we're going to be able to use moving forward in life that's going to help us as well. So thanks for being here. Talk to everybody who makes it on next week. All right?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.